What does that mean?
Fear of animals.
Animals? Okay, a fear of animals. What did some of the rest of you find? Brian?
Right, panophobia.
And what's that? Fear of what?
Needles.
Of needles? Yes. How many of you have a fear of needles, or you don't like going to the doctor and getting poked and prodded? Okay. One or two of you? All right. What are some other things we found?
I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but agoraphobia.
Yes, which is
Open spaces.
a fear of open spaces, agoraphobia. Yeah, some people have a fear of open spaces. And then there's the opposite, claustrophobia. Some people have a fear of closed spaces where they feel like everything's coming in on them. Any of you get claustrophobic at all? You do? Okay. Anybody have an open space problem? No? Okay. What about a fear of heights? Okay. A couple of you? Yeah, I never really thought about it as a fear of heights, more as a fear of falling from those heights is my problem. Yeah, I mean, have you ever, like, I'll tell you, being on a big, and it's gotten worse as I get older, but driving somewhere and I have to cross a big high bridge, there's a part of me that's afraid I'm just going to go, woo, you know, or I have this fear of falling.
The Willis Tower, Cameron and I went to the top of that.
Yeah. Wait, of the what?
Like they have these big glass boxes hanging outside.
Oh my gosh, the people couldn't stand in?
Yeah.
They were yelling in the car.
Where is this?
Chicago.
In Chicago. Okay.
They were yelling in the car
Sears
for it.
Tower.
Oh yeah, I've been up to the top of the Sears
Yeah.
Tower.
Crazy.
It's not that.
I remember one time being up there. It was raining on the ground, but when at the top of the Sears Tower, you could see snow coming down. But by the time it hit the ground, it was rain because it was colder up above. I've also been up in the St. Louis Arch. Of course, that's enclosed, so it doesn't bother me as much. But you also feel like it's swaying a little bit. I don't know if you've ever, maybe it does. I don't know.
Have you guys ever been to the one in JP Canoe State Park? The
What
fire
is it?
tower. Fire tower.
Oh, the fire tower? I haven't been up there.
I jumped off it. Landed in a tree.
Did you really?
Oh yeah, like the trees
Okay.
next to it. It's easy to jump out the windows and catch them.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I can't believe that when I was like 13 or 14, there's a state park in Kentucky called, I think it's Natural Ridge or Natural Bridge.
I've been to that.
And you can walk, or at least you used to be
It's
able
crazy.
to. And I walked across that as a kid, and I'm afraid, I can't believe I did. I couldn't do that today. I think I would completely freak out and think I'd get knocked off or, yeah.
Last time I was there was a kid. I don't know if he was a kid, but he was sitting off the ledge,
Yeah.
just swinging his leg. It's
Yeah.
like, that's the die
Yeah.
right there.
I know. I mean, I like the view from high above, but still, there's a little bit of it. Like I said, it's that fear of falling. I have never had any desire to go skydiving.
It's a nice walk. I love it.
Anybody ever want to go skydiving? You do? Some of you do. Have any of you had a chance to skydive? Not yet. Okay.
No, you have to have parents sign.
I think you can with parental permission. Because we had a teacher, a science teacher here several years ago, and our son was in high school here, and the two of them had gone skydiving somewhere nearby.
Yeah, there's a place close.
And he wasn't 18 yet, but I think with his mother's permission, because his mother was there, you know.
Ben will
But,
go soon.
yeah, I don't know. Okay, so guys, do you know what the number one fear of is of people? The most common fear? No, but that's a good one. No, that's a good one too. What?
Fear of heights.
He said that. It's a good one, you would think. No, do you know what the most common fear is? Public speaking. That's why we're talking about fears today, because that is the number one fear, public speaking. Jerry Seinfeld had a joke about how you were at a funeral, you'd rather be the guy in the casket than the one that had to perform the eulogy, because it's people's number one fear. I know some of you are probably nervous and worried about getting up in front of the class. That's very common. I want you to know that. And I want you to know that it's common because sometimes that helps us deal with it. Oh, okay, I'm not the only one that's afraid. All right. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to cover chapter 2 in the textbook that talks about building your confidence, because that's what we need to do. Okay. We need to build your confidence. And it's a process. I'm not going to say that we're going to completely take away your fears of speaking in front of people, but we can help you deal with it. All right. Now, guys, when I first started teaching, when I had a student teach, I was nervous to be in front of a group of students, to talk in front of them. I'm typically okay with talking to people and like to talk to people and pretty friendly. But getting up in front of a group of high school students was really nerve-wracking. And I will tell you, my student teaching, it's weird because I ended up student teaching at my old high school where I actually graduated from just 4 years before. And I had one of my cousins in class. And I know some friends that I had in class, and I've seen them off and on over the years. And I told them one time, I said, I'm a completely different person in the classroom now than I was when I was teaching you guys, because I was really nervous. And I'd stay behind my podium the whole time. Now, I've been staying pretty much behind my podium this year because of COVID, not because I'm nervous about getting around in front of all of you. I'm just nervous about getting around you because of germs this year, okay? Normally, I would be moving around. But this year, stay back here because of the virus, all right? It's a different thing. But, we all get nervous. And we're going to talk about some of that. So what I need you to do is to open a Google document, a blank one. We're going to take some notes. I'm going to pull them up here. And we're going to talk about building confidence. Come on. That's not what I wanted. You are going to submit your notes too, so let me hold on. Sorry. For some reason, the board has been moving slower than it used to. Right now, we're just about to start notes. Yeah, except I don't know if we'll have time. You know what? Do you know where the sign-in thing is? Yeah. Okay. Guys, they want you to use that passbook signing in and out, okay, that's online. So you have to fill that out and then you can go. You'll have to catch up on this because I've got to move on. All right. Who did I lose on here? Owen's still here. Julia's here. Isabel, Matt. Who's the other person? Kendall. We lost Kendall. Okay. All right. So, guys, this is all about building confidence. That's what chapter 2 is about. Instead of I took the highlights from it. Now, I will be honest with you, the cute little pictures that are in here, Ms. Winbigler added a couple of years ago when she was also teaching speech with me. Okay. So, we're going to talk first about stage fright. Here's what stage fright is. It means we're afraid to speak. It's a communication apprehension. You can paraphrase this or summarize this information. You don't have to write it down word for word. Stage fright. How many of you have heard of stage fright? Have you ever had stage fright? Anybody? Okay, a couple of you. All right, a few of you have. Yeah, I've had stage fright. It doesn't mean you're going to be up on a stage. One of the worst cases I ever had was my senior year of high school. I was doing solo ensemble contest. I played the trumpet, and I'd been playing the trumpet for 4 years. I had switched over from the flute my freshman year of high school, so it was a completely different instrument. Took private lessons. My instructor that year said, "You need to do I want you to do a solo ensemble." I'm like, okay. I didn't think anything about it because I had been in trumpet quartets for solo ensemble, and I had done vocal solos for solo ensemble. I did choir and band. And, I get a little nervous, but no big deal. So I thought, okay, I can do a trumpet solo. And I knew my piece very, very well. I had it down. I could play it well. But right before I had to play it for the judge, I just started shaking and my stomach was in knots. And everything in me was just, there was even a nerve in my hip that was twitching, that's how bad it was. And any of you that have played a wind instrument where you have your mouthpiece up against your mouth, especially a brass instrument, trying to play that while you're shaking, it was like this. I'm amazed that I only missed a first by 1 point. He must have, he could probably tell that I knew what I was doing. I was just incredibly nervous about the whole thing. It was awful. I've never been so nervous about anything in my life as I was for that. It was bad. But that is stage fright. Alberto, did you fill it out? Yeah. Okay, you can go. All right. So symptoms of stage fright. Now, this means we're afraid to speak, but it can also be afraid to perform any type of thing. Okay. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me do that. So here are some of the symptoms. Let me go this way for this. All right. Is that okay? Can you still see? All right. So you don't have to write all these symptoms down. Okay. But there are some basic things that can happen. Our mouths might get dry. We might get an upset stomach, or we'll feel flushed and like we're blushing really bad. Dizziness, shortness of breath, a fast heartbeat, excessive sweating, wobbly legs. And this usually occurs right before speaking and during the first 30 seconds. All right, it's typically at the very beginning. And then it does start to dissipate a little bit. It may not completely go away, okay? But it usually doesn't get worse unless things are going wrong. Then it can get worse, okay? If things are just, people will get really flustered. But these are the things that can happen, guys. My brother, all three of my younger siblings did plays and musicals in high school. My brother the most. I think he was in like 6 or 7 shows in high school. And the very first show he was in, was a small part, just point, but still he was nervous. And he's 12 years younger than me. I was already up here teaching, and I went home to see a show. It was their first performance. And we were eating dinner beforehand. And my brother likes to eat. Okay. My brother likes to eat. He's not one to pass up food, but he couldn't eat. And my mom was like, "Come on, you need to eat something." I'm like, "Mom, leave him alone." He's like, "I can't eat, Mom," which is just, shocking. But I'm like, "Listen, if he says he can't eat, don't make him eat. He can eat afterwards." And that's what happened. It was his nerves got the better of him. I had a student several years ago. He had his freshman and sophomore year. He was really, really good with lighting and sound when we did shows. And that's what he had done his freshman and sophomore year. But his junior year, he decided he wanted to be on stage too. And he was a good actor. And I actually cast him in a lead. And I kept asking him, "John, are you doing okay? How are you feeling?" "Oh yeah, I'm great, Hassan, no problems." "Yeah." I said, "Are you nervous?" "No, I'm good." And it was he did a really great job with it. The day we were to perform, His castmates came running into me in the morning. Miss Hahn, John has food poisoning. And I'm like, what? And they said, yeah, he's been throwing up and everything. I said, don't worry, I'll talk to him. It'll be okay. Well, I figured mostly his nerves had finally gotten the better of him, that he didn't think he was, had. And I talked to him I said, look, just because he came into school, because he knew he needed to perform. I said, you just go home today after school, take a nap, relax, come back. I said, the other kids were supposed to be there. They were all supposed to be there at a certain time. I said, you just make sure you're in by, I gave him a little bit later time. I said, take a nap, sleep, relax. Okay. He came back in after all of that night, felt great, performed, no problem. It was his nerves, okay? Had gotten the better of him during the day. It happens. Those of you that play sports, do you ever get nervous right before a game? No? Yeah. It's very typical when we have to perform whether we're speaking in front of the class, we're singing, playing an instrument, whatever we're doing or playing a sport, we often get nervous, and we might get any of these things. Now, here's the other thing about it. These symptoms usually there's energy with that, guys. And you can use that energy, harness that energy into your speaking, into whatever performance you're doing, like you get worked up and psyched up. I often tell people, if they ask me I'll have people say, well, which show should I come to? Should I come to the first one? Should I come to the second show? Which performance? And for those of you who don't know, I direct plays and musicals here too. And I'll tell them, well, come to the first one. And this is why. There might be a few more mistakes, but the students are usually more nervous and they have this higher energy level. And it's usually a better performance. By Saturday or Sunday, depending on how many shows we're doing, by their last performance, their energy levels, they're like all relaxed, and we have to pump them up. You probably get pumped up before a game. I know, we've got music, we play all this stuff, and you see football players on the sidelines jumping up and down together to get their energy levels up. We have to do that with the cast of a play too. But their energy levels are usually higher during their first performance because of their nerves. Yeah, they might drop a line here and there, but it's usually they're like more on. And I'll tell people that. Come to the first show, okay? Because they're more focused because of their nerves. All right. So, perception. This is one of the things that we need to talk about. Perception can help us build our confidence, because a lot of these are things that we need to think about. Here, I'll move this way. Okay. So perception is how you see things. Okay. So do you see yourself and others accurately, or do you blow things out of proportion? So we have stage fright. And now we want to talk about all the things that can contribute to that stage fright and to help us overcome that stage fright. And the first thing is perception. How do you view things? Do you see yourself accurately? Do you see the situation accurately? Or do you blow things out of proportion? What do you think? Do you see yourself accurately?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we do, a lot of times we don't. We don't think too much about it. We have our perspective of it. I'm not sure we'll get all these notes done today. We may come close. We will probably, I have a short quiz that goes with this after we finish the notes, but we'll most likely end up doing that tomorrow. Okay, so perception.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you weren't done?
And we'll use the restroom.
What? Okay, so we want to think about your perception of the audience. Here's the deal, guys. So this is perception of the audience. Most audiences do not notice a speaker's nervousness. unless you're shaking all over like I was, you're usually not going to pay attention to it. Guys, think about you sitting in, you're in the gym. Now, we haven't done that in a year, but you're sitting in the gym all together and we've got a guest speaker. Are you really paying attention to every little detail about the speaker? No, most of you are not. Okay? Most of you are focused on what's going on with you. So think about how you are in the audience. As a speaker, yeah, you think, well, everybody's looking at me. They're going to see how nervous I am. Yeah, everybody might be looking at you, but they're also thinking about all kinds of other things. So an audience is also going to forgive your mistakes if they see you are genuinely interested in them and are trying to share something with them. Let me move this up. Okay, there we go. So again, our perception of the audience could be skewed. We think as the speaker that they're focused on and noticing every little thing about us. Yeah, they're going to notice some things, but typically they're not going to notice all the little things. Sometimes we're really good about there are certain tells that somebody is nervous, but a lot of times we're not even paying attention to that. Because most of the time we really don't care, do we? If the person is nervous or not. Depends on the situation, but most of the time, no, we're not focused on that. And like I said, you make a few mistakes. If the audience sees that you are genuinely concerned about them and interested in sharing with them, they're going to forgive your mistakes. You might, a speaker might say, mess something, and they're like, oh, I'm so, they'll just apologize. I'm so sorry, I'm a little nervous here. It's the first time I've done this, or something like this. And the audience usually is like smiling, yeah, it's okay. Most of the time we're very forgiving. All right. Can we move on to the next one? And then your perception of the speech. Look at a speech as an opportunity to share something you consider important or valuable with your audience. Don't look at it as, oh my gosh, I have to do this assignment. Look at it as a chance to share something. Look at it as an opportunity to look into something, a chance, something you've always been interested in, and hey, well, maybe this is my chance to do that. I can turn it into an assignment, but it's also something that I care about or I've always wondered about. It is an extension of your personality, your likes, your dislikes, your feelings, okay? I had a class I had to take in college called Rhetorical Criticism. Now that sounds nasty. It wasn't. It simply means that we were looking at why certain speeches were effective and popular and why others were not. But I also had a professor who happened to be really, really into pop culture, like movies and music and television and all of this stuff. So when we were doing projects for our class, instead of examining old speeches, he asked us to examine things in pop culture, to pick something that we cared about, that we were interested in. And I was always a big Star Trek fan. So I did my projects because we had to pick a topic and then stick with it for various types of papers that we were writing. And we applied the techniques of why this was why certain things, sorry guys, I try to sanitize as much as possible.
Why are you putting on sanitizer? Why are you putting on sanitizer?
Well, because I just touched this again. Alberto touched it again, and we all are going to touch it again. So there, that's what we do. I touched it, he touched it. So, all right. But guys, I picked Star Trek because it was something that I enjoyed. And I did all of my research projects on the original Star Trek series. It was something I loved. Now, I will even admit at the end of the class, I was kind of tired of Star Trek for a while. But it worked, okay? It fit what he was asking us to do. So when I ask you to write a speech, I want you to think about some of the things that you are interested in, okay? I've had speeches on all kinds of topics. I've had speeches on Doctor Who and The Walking Dead, and SpongeBob and Legos and all kinds. I even had a student give a speech on Peeps once. It was actually a very good speech. So think about the things that you like. Maybe it's a place that you've always wanted to visit. What do you care about? What are you interested in? Okay, and here's the last part of it, guys, and there are no judges holding up scorecards at the end of your speech. Okay, I am not going to be sitting in the back of the room holding up a sign that says you suck. Okay, I will not do that.
You're a forbidden
All right.
speech.
So nobody's going to be doing that. What do? I do give you a critique. I'm going to tell you ahead of time, hey, these are the things that we need to work on. This is what you're going to be graded on this speech. And then I will tell you afterwards, hey, you did a really nice job with this. We need to work on this. Oh, they're right here. Okay. So, guys, when we do this, I'm gonna like this the first speech that we'll do. We're gonna be doing an informative speech, and I'm gonna be grading you simply on do you have all the elements of the speech that you're supposed to. I'm not gonna be grading you on eye contact or body language or anything like that. I'm gonna be grading you on the content of your speech at that point, and that is after I tell you what needs to be in the content of your speech, how it has to be organized. I'm gonna give you all of that before we start that. Okay, so you'll know what you need to do. All right, so look at it as an opportunity to share something. All right, your perception of yourself. Here's the thing, we are not born with confidence, we build it. No baby comes out of the window and they look at me, I'm awesome.
I did.
You did? Okay. Okay, we are not born with confidence. We build the confidence over the years. You also, I told you this last week, you need to recognize your own worth. You are worthwhile. You have something to contribute. Remember that. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Overcoming mistakes and failures builds confidence. Guys, if human beings didn't believe that we should keep trying after we fail at something, we would probably still be living in caves. Okay? Any successful inventors who came up with new ideas for things, if you look, they had more failures than successes because they kept trying. Edison, Einstein, Bell, Tesla, all of these people that have created great things, and Steve Jobs, and who's in charge of Microsoft? Who created Microsoft? Bill Gates, yeah. All of these people, they kept trying, and they didn't let their mistakes and their failures stop them. You know, most experiments, there's 100 of them before they get something right. And there are many experiments and inventions that they were trying to do one thing, but there was some surprising effect that they had. They're like, oh, well, this might be useful for something completely different. Okay? So make sure that you understand that it's okay to fail. Now I'm not saying it's okay to fail your classes, because most of the time that's because you weren't doing your work. That's not the kind of failure and mistakes I'm talking about. I'm talking about trying to do something even though we may not get it right the first time. And I'll tell you this as someone that has difficulty with that. I am not a perfectionist, but kind of a reverse perfectionist. I always had a tendency, if I couldn't do something right the first time I did it, I didn't want to even try. That's hard to overcome. I've had to learn to accept that, okay, it's okay that you don't get it right the first time. I still struggle with that. I like to do things right the first part of it is because I just don't want to do it over and over again. But a part of it is I want to get it right. And so I won't do it. Okay. So it's hard. It's a skill you have to teach yourself. Some people, it comes a little easier to. They're okay with trying and trying and trying. I had to train myself to do that, and I still struggle with it. Okay. All right. Now we're going to talk about the planks of confidence. Okay. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Okay. So we have the planks of confidence. Now you don't need to write these all down yet. We're going to take them. Organization, friendliness, expression, dedication, empathy, newness, conviction, and enthusiasm. So we'll start with content. It's the first plank of confidence. Content, it's about having something worthwhile to say. Okay? Think about your topic choice. Think about what you're actually going to talk about with it. Not just picking a good topic, but also what do you present to us about that topic? Okay? What are you going to say about it? Think about, maybe you love trucks and you want to give a speech about trucks. Well, maybe tell us a little bit about the history of it and, why, or maybe the popularity of trucks and their history and their popularity and who decided to make a truck. All right. Because I don't even know when that happened. That might be fascinating. Or maybe you have an interest in some particular disease for some, maybe somebody.
COVID.
Yeah, COVID. There would be an interesting subject. Okay. Or
Donald Trump getting impeached.
we're going to stay away from those topics. I have found this year that would be better. Okay. Because we have very a wide range of views that people get really heated about.
Yes.
So we're just going to avoid that. Okay.
A lot of snowflakes.
But have something worthwhile to say. Okay. Pick a topic that you're interested in and then tell us something interesting about that topic. All right. Organization, that's the next plank. Have some type of outline that's easy for you and your audience to follow. And guess what we're going to do after we do these slideshows? I'm going to teach you how to outline your speech. I'm going to give you this organizational tool. All right? I am going to give you the organizational tool that you need to write a nicely put together speech. It's going to be one of the most important things I teach you this semester is how to organize the speech. What goes where? What should we be doing in this part? And it will help you with your writing too. Okay? The next one, notes. Jot down your ideas in a brief, directed form. Guys, it's really important when you're thinking about what you want to give a speech about. It's important to start writing your ideas down. It's also important while you're researching it to take notes. So we're going to work on that too. We're going to take notes. Hey, this is something I can use. How many of you did a research paper of some kind in middle school? Did any of you? A couple of you did. Not everybody though. Okay. All right. Did any of you do a research paper in high school yet? Okay, some of you have. All right. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk about taking notes and jotting down our information. How do we paraphrase it, summarize it, that kind of thing. Okay, friendliness. Be friendly with your audience. Don't be afraid to smile and talk to individuals in the room. Well, let's talk about that. So first of all, you need to be friendly with them. Don't come up here all stern and like you are better than everybody else. And the part about smile and talk to them, that is really about if you're asked to go speak somewhere, like at a dinner or some kind of club or something like that, if you're asked to give a speech, typically there are things that go on before you get up and speak. And that this is guiding you, and don't just hold yourself back from everybody. Talk to them, move around the room, introduce yourself if there are people that you don't know. Okay? Talk to them, be friendly. All right? This one is friendliness. Okay? Be friendly, smile at people. Smile goes a long way. I know you can't see us smiling behind our masks anymore, but have you seen the masks that are like somebody's mouth? And it looks just like it's, yeah. Sometimes they're a little
They're clear.
creepy looking. They're slightly creepy.
Makes it look like there's a hole in them.
All right. Somebody still typing this part. Okay. The next one is impression. Start off well. Dress and groom yourself appropriately. So the start off well is really about the introduction to your speech. And when I teach you about writing your speeches, we do it in an outline format, but I also always instruct my students to put down your introduction word for word and know exactly what you're going to say in the introduction. Craft it well, because that's their first impression of you when you start speaking. Okay? So we want to have that all laid out for ourselves. So we know, okay, this is what I'm saying. This is how I'm beginning. Because once we begin, the rest of it gets a little easier. Okay? The other part of it, it says dress and groom yourself appropriately. It doesn't mean you have to have any kind of expensive brand name clothing or the latest hairstyle. It means that you are neat and clean and appropriate for the situation. Here in class, I don't ask you to dress up, but don't come up to the front of the room with, you know, your hair all a mess like you just got out of bed, and you're fine. And, you know, it's sticking up on one side and you haven't done anything with it, or your clothes are all dirty or something like that. It just means make sure you look appropriate for the situation. Guys, think about it this way. If you go to a job interview, you need to dress up slightly better than you would for the job. All right? Doesn't mean you have to have expensive clothing. Doesn't mean now some jobs, yes, boys, you should probably go in a suit and tie, but most job interviews right now, your part-time jobs, you don't have to do that. Okay? Don't go in there with a bunch of ripped jeans or big stains on them. And I know, well, we don't have to have expensive clothing, okay? We can go to Goodwill, we can go to Salvation Army and get decent clothing, very cheap. Walmart, all of these, I mean, I shop at Walmart. Things like this, we don't need the expensive clothing. I knew a guy in college who could go into Goodwill or a Salvation Army, and he could pick out things and put together a really sharp outfit, and he looked like he was dressed very expensively, but he was not. It was like $5 or something that he spent on his clothing.
Nice.
Okay. But then I also had another friend who tried to do the same thing, and his was always a disaster. He just didn't have the eye for it. But, you know, dress neatly, especially when you, sorry, I think I inhaled a fuzzy from my mask.
Your excuse.
Okay. But make sure that you are, you know, your hair is neat and clean, that your clothing is neat and clean. Okay? That's what's important. All right. Dedication. Practice, practice, practice. Okay? Practice giving the speech. Stand in front of a mirror. Set up a row of teddy bears or something, or your family dog, or your little brother and sister, parents and make them listen, but practice. Whether you're doing it just on your own room, on your own, or you've got an audience that you've set up that you're speaking in front of. Practice. It's important. Okay. We just might get through all of these. All right.
Are you gonna have time to do the one that you wanted to?
What? The quiz?
The notes?
These are the notes.
No, you said something about something else.
I said we have a quiz after the notes, but we probably won't get to that today. We'll probably have to do that tomorrow. Empathy. Know how it feels to feel that way. Okay, that's what empathy is. That you know how it feels to feel that way. Here's one of the things that scares us. We think we're the only person experiencing this. That's why I said, look, we all get stage fright. Don't assume you're the only person with problems, okay? There are many of you maybe sitting in this room that are going through difficulties, things that the rest of us don't know about. Maybe a couple people do. Maybe no one does. Okay? There are other people maybe in this room that are going through similar issues or are just as you want to get in front of the class. So we say this so that you understand that you're not alone in this. You are not alone in whatever you're struggling with or your fears of getting up in front of the class. There are other people in this room just as scared as you are. Some not as much, but others that are. So that's typically a comfort for us. You also want to work for common ground with your audience when you share. It's easy for you. Most of you are the same age. You've grown up in the same area for the most part, gone to the same school. Some of you may have known each other since you were in kindergarten or preschool. How many of you have known each other since you were like 5 years old? Any of you?
Me,
Some of
Brandon.
you? Yeah. Okay. That's how I was. I went to school the same place. Well, we lived in the same house too. My parents still live in the house that I grew up in. The time I started kindergarten, all the way through high school. There was a group. I went to school with the same kids until we got into 7th grade. There were a few kids from another elementary school that joined us. And then in high school, we joined with another high school. But also there were like half the class that I'd known since I was 5. And the other half of my class, they had known each other since they were 5 for the most part. Okay. And so you know each other, you have that common ground. You're also all in the same experiences as far as where you live, your age group, your generation. I'm the one odd man out here, so don't worry so much about me, except what I think might be appropriate or inappropriate, okay? Think about that. But I'm the one that's much older than you are in a completely different generation with different experiences. But your audience, apart from me, they're pretty much like you. You have differences, you all have other interests, but you also have a lot of common ground, okay? So think about that. And newness, originality. Try taking a different slant or approach to the topic. Oh, guys, we're gonna have to stop because I have to clean your desks, okay? So we're gonna stop here with this one. We'll finish up the notes tomorrow. Why are these things happening? Okay. All right.